87-year-old pontiff skipped a reading at his general audience at the Vatican. The Vatican said Francis had some diagnostic tests done, but did not comment on his condition. President Biden is undergoing his annual physical exam at Walter Reed today. The White House is expected to publicly release a written summary of his exam later in the day. This comes as Biden faces questions about his age and ability to serve a second term. The son of Colorado Congresswoman Lauren Boebert is facing legal trouble. Tyler Boebert was arrested yesterday and is facing 22 different charges. The 18-year-old is charged with criminal possession of a financial device, criminal auto trespass with intent to commit crime, and contributing to the delinquency of a minor, among others. You're listening to the latest on NBC News Radio.
The election is March 5th. Your ballots are in the mail. Mail them in today. Now there's something to vote for because there's a new marshal in town. Vote Derek Marshall for 23rd Congress by March 5th.
Y'all know we need to change Congress. The current Congress does nothing but fight with each other. They've forgotten why we sent them there, to work. Let's marshal and fix our problems at the border. A comprehensive plan, not political rhetoric and infighting.
Yes, there's a new marshal in town.
The rent is too darn high. Let's marshal in affordable housing and real affordable universal health care. Better union jobs.
The current Congress member put his party first and not people. But there's a new marshal in town.
Our incumbent party politician voted no on the recently passed bipartisan infrastructure bill. He voted no to $3 billion in new funds for our district and no to 35,000 new jobs right here at home. He said, we need a secure border, but now he's rolled it back to play politics. We need to marshal real solutions.
Vote for Derek Marshall by March 5th because we've got to hire a new marshal, Derek Marshall. You can go to DerekMarshallCA.com, paid for by Derek Marshall for Congress.
My name is Derek Marshall, and I approve this message.
It's time to shop in the cool, relaxed comfort of the Tri-City Shopping Center in Redlands, conveniently located on the I-10 freeway between the Alabama and Tennessee exits. Bring the kids too and watch them play in the only indoor fun center, High Five Indoor Playground, where parents are welcomed on the playground. Birthday celebrations are encouraged, so make plans for some great fun at the mall. More reasons why the Tri-City Center is called the Mall with a Heart.
It's that time of year again. No, not the holidays. Medicare open enrollment. And if you have questions about Medicare, you should talk to the local experts. Paul Berich and Associates. Paul and his agents are certified with plans that are accepted by most of the medical groups in our area. Call 909-793-0385. Their service is free, and after 42 years in the business, their agents are trained to help you pick the plan that's right for you.
KCAA.
Welcome to the Worker Power Hour with Randy Corrigan, a brand new show about labor and worker issues. The host of the show is Randy Corrigan, Secretary, Treasurer, and Principal Office and leader of Teamsters 1932, one of the largest public sector labor unions on the West Coast, representing workers in government and non-sworn law enforcement personnel. Randy Corrigan is a 30-year Teamster who first became involved in the labor movement by volunteering his time as an organizer with the Teamsters Union at the age of 21. Since then, he's helped thousands organize, mobilize, and achieve bargaining rights. He accomplished this by spending countless hours with brave men and women all over Southern California, in their living rooms, on the picket line, to bring workers towards victory. This is the Worker Power Hour. And now here's the host of the show, Randy Corrigan.
Good afternoon, everybody. Longtime organizer, first-time radio host, Randy Corrigan with the Worker Power Hour, KCAA 106.5 FM, 1050 AM. Good to be back this week. It's actually, I think, my fourth week in a row not having to do a rerun. Last week was a good show. We had Don Rao on, and then we also had the San Bernardino Orchestra, Symphony Orchestra on. It was an interesting, real fun connection between those two. First of all, between the supervisor, Don Rao, and being at one of the events from last year. And, you know, that the San Bernardino Symphony Orchestra seems like a really good family event for a reasonable price, and it'd probably be great to have them on again in the future. But Don did a great job. Frank, and I know that that's your current supervisor right now. You live up in the mountain where there was a lot of criticism over how the last year's storm was handled, and what were your thoughts on how she handled the discussion last week?
Yeah. So people in the mountains felt a little bit forgotten last year when we had we call it Snowmageddon. But I thought she did a good job addressing the issue in that she didn't say it was handled perfectly. She explained kind of how she had just come into that part of the district. I just rearranged some boundaries, but the whole switching from a normal snowplow operation to a scoop and dump, where you actually can't use a plow anymore, so there's just not enough room for the snow. That made it really difficult. But she explained herself well on why they had to prioritize certain things, like roads to utility centers were number one. So a lot of streets got put in the
secondary.
In secondary, but there was a reason for that. So I thought she did a good job explaining how her thought process and how she wanted her.
How to deal with it.
It was strategic. It wasn't just a wild cluster. It just it was strategic.
Yeah, and I thought I felt that she did a good job of kind of owning the situation. It was like, look, we didn't do things perfectly, and clearly it was an incredibly difficult situation. So
because people are reasonable, we should be reasonable at least. We haven't had a blizzard like that since I've been alive. I've lived there my whole life. I'm 27, and we've never had even half that much snow before. So it's understandable that there were some issues. What I like? Some issues with something that we've never experienced before. It was almost a natural disaster. I don't think it officially got declared that, but there was
it did.
Did it?
It did. State of California did.
Yeah. So
she didn't blame anybody.
Exactly.
That really stuck out. She just said, look, this is what our responsibility was. This is what we did. This is what we're doing going forward. And I just, anytime you deal with a situation that's rare and doesn't come up very often, it is so easy for everybody to criticize you.
And it'll be a learning experience for even, the most established supervisor. When it's something new, you're going to learn stuff. And
that's correct. Yeah. And, ironically, she comes from the desert area, actually from the Yucca Valley, 29 Palms area. And dealing with mountain issues is, probably something she hasn't dealt with much her life. Obviously, that's not an excuse. And, she didn't say any of that.
She didn't make excuses, which I appreciated.
Correct.
She explained without, making excuses. That I appreciated a lot.
And that's what's made her a good she's been a good partner for us. And again, as we pointed out, there's a lot of things we disagree on. But she's always open to discussion and trying to find a resolution on behalf of our members, and that is very important when you're dealing with, at least for us, 12,000 employees, members, and from her perspective, 20-some thousand as employees of the county. So yeah, great job. I think she did good. It was a good combination. It was a nice combination between her and obviously going to one of the concerts that happened last year for the San Bernardino Symphony Orchestra organization. And I thought it was a really good show. Moving on to the next part of our show, 3 Teamster jobs. This is the part where we like to thank a Teamster. I always want to thank Carlos Gonzalez. He does a really good job of pointing these out for me and giving me some detail to it too that sometimes I might overlook. So ARMC, which is Arrowhead Regional Medical Center in Colton. Most people don't know that almost all the jobs there are Teamster jobs. And so most of the staff at ARMC are Teamsters, Local 1932 members. The person taking your blood, the person making sure you could breathe during COVID, all the respiratory therapists are all Teamsters. So think about that. The most important individuals, everybody's important in that field, but it was a respiratory, illness, and those are all Teamsters that were trying to keep everybody alive during that process. The person checking your baby's ultrasound, all the people in that department, and our members care for the community and the health and in sickness, and they're always try to remember to thank a Teamster and appreciate them, especially if you in healthcare, it's a time when you're in your most need. Teamsters are taking care of you there at Arrowhead Regional Medical Center. So thank a Teamster. And all of you that are listening at Arrowhead Regional, thank you for the work that you do. The next one is railroad workers. Most railroad workers are Teamsters. As a matter of fact, we represent over 70,000 railroad workers. That's a little tongue twister. railroad workers in the U.S. And think about all the goods and services, or excuse me, all the goods that are going through the country on a train. And when next time you look up at a train, those that deal with the maintenance and ways, the conductors, the locomotive engineers, most of them are Teamsters. So Teamsters are making sure those goods are getting to another part of the country. A lot of it comes in through the port, goes to other parts of the country, and so think of Teamster. Last one, again, you might overlook this one too. It's a great one. The American Red Cross. Most people that work for the American Red Cross are Teamsters. The phlebotomists, those that take your blood, that obviously going to donate it for later. The drivers are Teamsters, obviously, that drive the vans around and drive the trucks around, and the clinics, the mobile clinics. And a lot of the individuals that work for the American Red Cross on disaster relief are Teamsters as well. And so, as we always, every show, think of Teamster. Next time you see the Red Cross, they're probably Teamsters. And thank them. Make sure that they understand you appreciate them. So I'm going to switch over to current news. There's some really interesting stuff going on in our current news right now. First, Starbucks actually has come to their senses. And them and the Baristas Union, Workers United, have announced an agreement to begin discussions for collective bargaining agreements for unionized stores. They're going to actually try to put together what we call like a national contract. They're going to try to put together something that is uniform for a number of the locations. And so workers at hundreds of locations across the country at Starbucks have been organizing, and more power to them. I mean, a coffee is what, $6-7. They can afford to pay them a little more. I mean, you think about it, you go to In-N-Out, and I know a lot of people that work for In-N-Out, and I mean, they pay their people starting out like $21 an hour, right? Starbucks can do better. In-N-Out can do it. Starbucks can do it. I mean, coffee at the price that they charge, there's a pretty profit in that, and quite frankly, they need to be sharing it more with the workforce. And so, the broader context of increasing the union mobilization for the Starbucks workers is really, really important. It's obviously a brand that everybody's listening to and paying attention to and kind of following when it comes to workers in America. So congratulations to those workers. They still got some work to do because they got to bargain a contract across all of those locations, and that'll take some time. We'll be paying attention to it. We'll give you an update as soon as we can. The next one is kind of a fun one I want to talk about. I'm going to have a little bit of fun with this one because the majority of Alabama Mercedes workers want to join UAW in the Southeast, and that battle's heating up. So the reason why I'm pointing this one out is there's some interesting comments that are made about this. So a majority of the workers have said that they want to be organized. They want to have a collective bargaining agreement, and they want to benefit like the rest of union workers do across the country. And of course, the company is going to say, no, you don't need to do that. I'll give you a couple quotes from them. But the thing that stuck out to me the most in this is part of this article refers to how the governor who is Kay Ivey, Governor Kay Ivey, and states the Alabama model for economic success is under attack because these workers are organizing. I don't know. I'm a little taken back by that. That's pretty bad when your governor or your elected officials are claiming that workers organizing because they're not being treated correctly by the employer is an attack on an economic model. Well, interestingly enough, I'm going to talk about right to work on the back half of this show. And Alabama is a right to work state. And so, yes, there's a business model that supports right to work. And it's one of those oxymoron quotes that means the opposite of actually what it's branded. And so for the governor to say, the Alabama model for economic success. Well, I don't know if you know a lot of people that live in Alabama. I do. And the wages in Alabama are not very good. The working conditions are not very good. And economic success in Alabama only seems to work if you've got a ton of money. Everybody else, the average worker in Alabama, seems to struggle immensely. And one of those reasons is because of right to work and the right to work legislation that was passed there in the 1950s. I'll get into that in the back half of the show. But for elected officials, senators, and governors to come out and say, hey, workers, this first of all, it's between the workers and their company, their employer. What are you piping your head into this for? And the reason why is because they want workers to be suppressed. Any elected official who jumps into a conversation like that is literally asking for workers to be oppressed. Well, I guess that makes sense out of the South because of the history of the South. You know, this guy probably still has a Confederate flag somewhere buried in his trunk. And recognizing what that means, you know, for those of you that want to argue that, I would love to have you on my show and have a discussion about that. Anyway, the point is that a governor or elected officials in the business community to come out and say that this is a sort of an attack. No, this is workers saying, hey, we have a right under the law to organize. And how dare you call it an attack if they're just exercising their rights? Quite frankly, a governor like that should be recalled or not elected when they're stomping on someone's actual rights and thinking it's okay to do that just because it's a union. And unions have been punching bags in these situations over the years. And I just think it's crazy. The Mercedes-Benz spokesman said, you know, that they believe that they have open and direct communication with their team members, and it's the best path forward to ensure continued success. Ironically, almost all of Mercedes-Benz in Europe is organized under a collective bargaining agreement. Almost the entire top to bottom, everybody in Mercedes, because it's a German-based company. We talked about this very lightly on another show. After World War II, when Germany was rebuilt and a lot of Europe was rebuilt, it was rebuilt with some policy around making sure unions had a strong foothold to protect the workers as they were rebuilding the country. Those policies obviously impacted companies like Mercedes that were based in Germany. And it's just ironic to hear them say, well, now that we go to America, now that we go across the Atlantic pond there, you know, the Atlantic Ocean, jump over to America, now it's, oh, well, guess what? We don't think you need a union here. Yet their entire workforce in Germany, which is where they anchored down, which is where they got their initial success, which is where a lot of their technology is. And for anybody that doesn't know, Mercedes holds more patents when it comes to vehicles than any other company on the face of the planet because of their unionized workforce being that good, their engineers and everybody being that efficient and that good over the last, 70, 80 years. So shame on Mercedes-Benz and shame on that governor and shame on anybody who kind of gets into this space. We'll be pulling for these workers, and I'll give you a report as that ramps up. That's going to continue to ramp up here real soon. The last bit of news I want to report on is Teamsters in Iowa. The union truckers circle the Iowa Capitol in protest of more proposed labor legislation. Iowa already has some of the most restrictive union labor laws in the country. The hoops you have to jump through in Iowa based on right to work. Again, this is going to tie into the back half of the show, talking about right to work and how right to work is this oxymoron sort of phrase. But Iowa has some of the most restrictive laws when it comes to how representation, number one, is gained, how it's maintained. And they're trying to take it a step further and grind down on it even more. Local 238, Jesse Case, happens to be a friend of mine. He's a great guy, very hardworking group of workers in Iowa simply because of the legislative effects that have happened in the last few years. Specifically in 2017, a law was passed in Iowa that really forced a yearly process for representation, which is extremely cumbersome, and it's really set out to try to break up unions and their ability to represent the workforce in greater Iowa. But so the new law, which is, I think it's 2374, Senate File 2374, it's a proposal It's really a union busting proposal, and it's going to create an undermining effect on public workers' collective bargaining rights by allowing employers to decertify unions, by allowing employers to decertify the union, by allowing an employer to make that decision. So not only is that against federal law already, so it's probably going to be preempted. It's not an employer's decision whether or not they want to be union. It's the worker's decision. It's already been established since 1934 that the employer doesn't have a right to have, they don't have a right to have space in that decision. It's between the workers and the employer. The employer can't say, well, you should, we're going to say no and we don't care what you do. It's not your decision. It is a worker's right. And just ironic. So shout out to Jesse. He's got a great team there. Really, really difficult set of circumstances there, but it's great to see them all rally around and really put a lot of pressure on the Capitol there in Iowa. Whatever we can do to help them out, we're definitely going to be doing the same. As a matter of fact, one of these times I'm going to get Jesse to come out here to California and talk to our members, because the laws are so difficult in Iowa. Sometimes you want those that have to deal with a more difficult set of circumstances to come talk to those of us that have an easier set of circumstance, because sometimes we take what we have for granted. And I think it's important for us to pay attention to how tough it is for others, because guess what? ALEC and the right to work sort of proponents want that to spread out across the entire country. Again, I'm going to talk about it on the backside of the hour. And so with that, I'm going to switch to the next part of our show. Let me remind you, it's the Worker Power Hour, KCAA 106.5 FM, 1050 AM. Call-in number is 888-909-1050. I have a lot of people that break my chops over not doing the call-in number. They got to look it up if they want to call. I don't hear y'all calling right yet, so once you start calling in and flooding the lines, maybe I'll do it more. Anyway, short of that, we have a Teamster Advantage partner on. I love the fact that we have in our studio here almost every single show, we have a live person to talk about their business and one of our Teamster Advantage partners. This is Anthony with Cornerstone Barbecue. I'm going to let him talk here in a minute, but just a quick shout out for our program. We have more than 1,000 small business connected to the Teamster Advantage Network. I actually have James Estrada sitting in here today. He is one of our shop stewards. He was on our show a couple months ago. He's our shop steward from Redlands. He does a great job of promoting small business within the city of Redlands. And I'm always telling these guys, just throw these Teamster Advantage partners at us. We'll line them up, make sure that they get on the shows. We want them to talk about their small business. We want to partake in those, restaurants and businesses and establishments as much as we can, and we want to remind people to connect to them as well. With that, Anthony, tell us about your barbecue, because I think everybody loves barbecue, right?
Yeah, everybody does love barbecue. So, again, my name's Anthony. I'm the owner of Cornerstone Barbecue. We actually have 2 locations. I have one in Beaumont, California, and then that was established 4 years ago. And I just recently opened one in downtown Redlands here 3 months and a half ago. So it's been going really well.
You're bringing some barbecue in here live?
Yes, we're bringing
my
barbecue
goodness.
live. So definitely couldn't go anywhere or have an interview without barbecue, because
How are you not 450 pounds?
I work a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, I got to put in a lot of hours, but we enjoy building community. I know that for us, it's more than just food. It's about building relationships and networking with different individuals in the community, because when you shop small, you build community.
So tell us about some of your menu. Like, what are the okay, first of all, you got a location in Beaumont. Where's the other one?
The other one is in downtown Redlands.
Downtown Redlands, okay. Where in downtown Redlands?
So we're on 22 East Vine Street, California, 92373.
What's your favorite dish? Yours.
My favorite dish, which just kind of depends. Definitely brisket is king. I love brisket, but the French fries, we call them meat fries. They're just loaded French fries. It's just fries, meat, nacho cheese, sour cream. Definitely my go-to eating. Or our breakfast burritos. We got a lot of
this is a nice little twist. A barbecue place that's got a breakfast burrito.
Yeah, so it started in Beaumont. We have a lot of blue-collar workers that were there, and they're just always passing through Beaumont, going to work. So
Where in Beaumont's the location?
location in Beaumont is 271 East 6th Street, right off of 6th Street. When the 60 ends and you gotta just get a quick bite, stop in, and get on your way. We do breakfast burritos there. We start them from 7 a.m. to about 10:30. Downtown Redlands is a bigger location, so we do breakfast all day. But the pork belly breakfast burrito is phenomenal. It's nice. It has cheese, not French fries, pork belly, bell peppers. So good.
I want to order one right now.
Yeah. Yeah, typically the guys will eat half on the road and then they'll eat the other
Yeah.
half for lunch. That's
Yeah.
the way to do it.
Okay, so tell us about the rest of your menu. Obviously, a typical barbecue. You got something special. How's your mac and cheese? Do you have mac and cheese?
Yes, we have mac and cheese. We
no, don't
we
tell me
do
that.
we do 5 different. It's a 5 blend cheese that we use. Everything is made from scratch. Everything is made in house. Our rubs, our barbecue sauces. We got the guys doing everything from start to finish.
Okay, so tell me about the mac and cheese.
So the mac and
Do you
cheese-
throw anything in it, like bacon, or do
You could do. I mean, you could build the mac and cheese bowl, which is basically mac and cheese, and you could put any of the meats on there.
Oh,
That's like
no.
a secret menu item. Not a lot of people know about that, but that's like what the guys typically eat.
Yeah, that's a meal. Mac and cheese can be a meal, right? Especially if it's like you said, a 5 cheese mac and
Yeah,
cheese.
no, it's really good.
Dice up a little bit of onions, maybe some mushrooms, throw it on there, and a little bit of meat. Man, that's a hefty meal.
Yeah, so we have a bunch of different smoked meats. We do like brisket, tri-tip, ribs, pulled pork, chicken. The pork belly itself, it's a different type of smoked meat. We actually slowly cook it, and then after that, we deep fry it. So it's very crispy on the outside.
So you make it more healthy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. When you're going to a barbecue shop, it's definitely everything is healthy for us. But it's really good. It's nice and tender, very juicy, really good. Pork belly is one of my favorites.
So do you have coleslaw?
Yes, we do.
All right, tell me about the coleslaw. Love coleslaw.
Coleslaw. So everything is made in house. It's a little sweet, not too
Oh, it's
vinegary.
great. I love that it's a
just
sweet with the vinegar
Yeah,
kind of.
it's just a nice blend. Because sometimes some coleslaws are like super soggy, where it's just all the dressing.
Crisp.
Yeah,
Yours
it's
is crisp.
nice and crisp. It's really good. It
You can
meshes
tell I
well.
like you can tell I like coleslaw, right?
Yeah, you have to. Like for us, like coleslaw for me is like that's the way that I can eat more because I'll be the beef is so rich. After that, you get a little bit of bite of the coleslaw, boom, back into the meat.
Well, especially taking a bit of coleslaw and slapping it right on top of a sandwich or something like that. So you have a beef brisket sandwich or pork or whatever you're gonna do.
we do
Take
them
a big
all.
old clump of that coleslaw and slap it. Oh man,
Yeah, it's really good. Like that's we do barbecue sandwiches, so like a brisket sandwich with some slaw, really hits the spot.
All right. So tell us a good story. Is there some in the bag? I'll be honest with you. Like if I start eating it right now, I'm gonna be distracted at the show. I don't know what to do. I got it sitting in front of me. I haven't eaten yet today, and I'm like, I want to tear into this. So tell me a good story about running. First of all, running a restaurant's tough, right? It's extremely difficult. Now you got 2, and
Definitely, it's one of the hardest things I've ever done. I've worked a lot of different things, a lot of different trades, and running a restaurant is one of the hardest things.
Hey, you look
And-
like an iron worker, man. You got your
Yeah.
suspenders on, and
We do it all. I mean, when you're a business owner, you got to be a plumber, you got to be an
Yes, you
electrician,
do.
you got to be a welder, you got to do you got to wear every different hat. And for the most part, you have to be a good leader. The success that we've had is because of our team. The team, if I didn't have my team behind me, I couldn't be sitting here talking to you. They're the ones that are actually doing the work. They're day in, day out, and they do it for us. Like when we first started, it was just me and my wife. So, I did late night hours. I was doing like 20-hour days. And when we started, it was just, again, it's a small business, so we had nobody funding us. It was just me and my wife. We put our dream out there, and we put everything. We quit our jobs, and we said, "This is what we're doing."
just rolled the dice
Yeah,
and said,
and it was so hard to get open. So like once, before even opening day, we had like no money. We had like zero. I'm like, well, we have enough to buy product, and let's see what happens. So we started, and we just started stacking days after days after days, and meeting awesome people. Our customers, I believe, are my best. The best asset that we have as a business as well. Like without our customers, without people supporting small, we wouldn't be here.
So how did you get connected to the Teamster Advantage Network?
So we
Was it
have,
James?
Yeah, James.
Was it
James.
you?
Yeah, James came in. And it's such a blessing, you know, because to have him come in and be like, hey, you know what? We got a group of guys that love to eat. We got people that are here to support you. Because, you know, again, we've been in Beaumont for 4 years, and like till we got to downtown Redlands is when I met James. You know, so we've to come in.
And you were in Beaumont before, see?
Yeah, he
yeah.
was slacking over
You're
there.
slacking. You're late to the game, man. This guy could have been connected way earlier.
Yeah.
What's going on?
No, it's so tough, you know, because again, like when as a small business, you don't know how much marketing you need to do.
Yeah.
You don't know how much work. Cause
So how much do we charge you for marketing?
It's completely free, which is
No one believes it.
It's crazy to me to think that anybody wouldn't want to take the opportunity to come out here, to be a part of the Teamster Advantage. Because again, for me, do we offer a benefit to the Teamsters? Definitely, but it's a benefit for them to come and try our food.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so it's a win-win. That's where anytime in business, I'm always looking for, hey, how do we do a win-win?
Yeah.
And it to me, it's amazing that you guys have a show or a space for people to come out and just shout out their business. I don't see why you don't got a line.
Yeah,
at
you
the
can give me
door.
$20 when the show's over.
I mean,
I'm
we brought barbecue just in case.
Yeah,
and I was
that's
like,
right. Oh, there's the $20, right?
I was like, definitely couldn't come empty-handed because again, you guys are providing a lot for us as. A
So
small
what's the
business owner.
discount for Teamster members?
So right now we have the both stores. You could get a discount, which is a 10% discount.
10%. Okay, good.
And again, that's available for any type of meals, any catering, anything that.
Have
you
we
guys
had them
need.
do anything at our office yet? At our building?
Not yet,
Well,
but-
we gotta hook them up. Do you do catering, right?
Yes, we do catering.
Yeah, so we can plan that ahead. But also too, I want to give you a shout out because right now, you know, our last steward meeting that we had in December, I called them in advance because they have a little section.
They put a big spread out. Yeah.
Well, they set us up on our own location and everything. So that was great that you guys have that little section too for business meeting.
Got it. We got a limit on how much you talk because you're so far away from a mic. Just so you. That's all right, James. That's all right.
Yeah, so we did set off. We have a reserve section just in case bigger parties want to come in or
Oh,
they
good.
want to. Again, I know that sometimes in downtown Redlands, seating is prime real estate. You know, so I know that I've heard a couple of restaurants are hour wait times and whatnot. So again, we're fairly new, so we got a lot of people with a lot of space and. We're excited to have people.
All right, it's great to have you on here. I'd love to sit and chat some more. I got to get to a break, but Anthony, great job. You got a lot of energy. Can't wait to crack this open and maybe take a little taste of it. And then we'll also, actually have them cater a couple things at the building for some of our events, and we'll get a pretty good idea on how it is on a larger scale too, not just in the restaurant. With that, it's the Worker Power Hour, KCAA 106.5 FM, 1050 AM. We'll see you on the other side of the break. Thanks for being here, Anthony.
It's that time of year again. No, not the holidays. Medicare open enrollment. And if you have questions about Medicare, you should talk to the local experts, Paul Berich and Associates. Paul and his agents are certified with plans that are accepted by most of the medical groups in our area. Call 909-793-0385. Their service is free, and after 42 years in the business, their agents are trained to help you pick the plan that's right for you.
It's time to shop in the cool, relaxed comfort of the Tri-City Shopping Center in Redlands, conveniently located on the I-10 freeway between the Alabama and Tennessee exits. Bring the kids too and watch them play in the only indoor fun center, High Five Indoor Playground, where parents are welcomed on the playground. Birthday celebrations are encouraged, so make plans for some great fun at the mall. More reasons why the Tri-City Center is called the Mall with a Heart.
For over a century, AM radio has evolved to meet the needs of our community. More than 80 million listeners depend on AM radio each month. It's also the backbone of the emergency alert system, keeping us safe in dangerous times. A new bill in Congress would ensure this free, reliable service remains in cars. Text AM to 52886 and tell Congress to support the AM Radio for Every Vehicle Act.
Message and data rates may apply. You may receive up to 4 messages a month, and you may text STOP to stop.
This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
We're back. It's the Worker Power Hour with Randy Corrigan, KCAA 106.5 FM, 1050 AM. All right, so I got James Estrada sitting next to me. He's a shop steward with the city of Redlands. You work on the outgoing water side, correct? I call that the septic side, right?
Well, yes, that's a good way to put it. Yes, so we it's wastewater, right? It's wastewater, sewer water. So we deal with everything that's being discharged, whether it's a business or a residence. So yeah, and in Redlands, I think we have almost a little over 6 million gallons a day, 5-6 million gallons a day that go through the wastewater system.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
All right, so I'm flying by the seat of my pants. I figured I'd have James sit in. I'm going to talk about right to work, and actually, Frank, I want you to listen in on this, because what I want to do is I want to spend this last 20 minutes talking about, the term right to work, give a little bit of history on it. I could probably do an hour and a half on this, but I'm really going to try to dedicate a good 20 minutes. And if you guys got some questions as I'm drilling down on kind of explaining some of this pretty crazy history to right to work, I think it would help the explanation for listeners, so where it's not just me rambling on for 20 minutes. It's more, there's a little bit more dialogue is happening. And so let me just kind of give some of the basic information first. So the term right to work is clearly an oxymoron, kind of like civil war, right? Like, what is civil about war? I get that civil war is an internal war where there's a fight over who's in control. But there's nothing civil about war. War is war. And that's the phrase civil war is an oxymoron in itself, as there are lots of phrases. And so is the term right to work. Right to work originated in 1941. A guy by the name of William Ruggles was propped up by industrialists and plantation owners to try to create a divide within working people. And he courted a guy by the name of Vance Muse, who ended up being kind of the front person to go into a number of the segregated states in the South and get them to pass what they called was right to work legislation in the 1940s, from about 1944 to about 1948. Now, why this is important is because unions really, workers were really trying to gain a lot of power in the 1930s and 40s, because workers were, being killed at work, and there was no protections, there was no laws, there was no rules on the books, there was no regulatory factors.
Killed on, you're referring to working conditions and so forth, right?
Literally killed them. Yeah.
Wow.
Going to work and, dying on the job because there's no protections. And so, workers, were dying in mines, assembly lines, having, limbs cut off, and, burning in buildings, being locked in buildings. This is all well documented. It's not me making this stuff up. There was very little, if not any, regulatory factors for protections on when it comes to workers, 8-hour workday, all that. So 1930s, the workers started in the 20s, really started to gain some steam in the 30s. You get into the 40s, workers are moving massively by the millions. Workers are demanding collective bargaining, demanding union contracts, and millions of workers are mobilizing into the space and effectively getting their employers to recognize and get contracts. And so clearly, at the time, you have industrialists, you have the super wealthy plantation owners, because there's still plantations at that time, and massive landowners who are trying to suppress this sort of kind of rebellious stage of workers saying, hey, we want a fair share. So they come up with this term right to work because it sounds good. And what does it do? Really what it boils down to is it allows somebody that's in a right to work state or a right to work environment, because even in non-right to work states there are some right to work environments. It allows workers to say, I don't want to pay dues to the union because I'm in a collective bargaining agreement and I want a free ride. I want to be a freeloader. And the history, I think that if everybody understood the actual history to this, they probably would be very reluctant to even entertain the subject, because the history was started by William Ruggles based on race, and essentially arguing that white people didn't have to pay dues to be part of a union that allowed blacks. Absolute fact. As inflammatory as this may sound, It is absolutely true. And if you go to Teamsters 1932/RTW, which is righttowork.org, you can see a video. I've done a number of videos on this subject where we talk in depth about some of these points, so that, trying to educate the general public and educate our members on the history of this. Because think about that. First of all, most issues of racism are usually born out of some divide between workers or the classes of workers. And it's usually some super wealthy person who is trying to get workers to fight with one another. And they use usually the differences in race to get them to fight with each other. And if you can get workers, if they're white, to fight with black workers, or brown, or any other race to fight with each other, or men and women to fight with each other, then guess what? The super wealthy win. And that is exactly what Right to Work was after. They were like, look, you don't have to participate in a union that allows for black people to be in their organization. It is an absolute fact. So that carries between 44 and 48, 1944 and 1948, and a number of southern states obviously pass this legislation and allow it to exist. And so clearly this law, this rule, which I think is crazy, because unions are the only business in America that's literally forced to do work for free. Imagine if you went to a restaurant, the barbecue restaurant, and all barbecue restaurants, people weren't required to actually pay for services when they get there. I mean, imagine how many people would come in and just say, yeah, well, I'm not going to pay, so see ya. And I got my sandwich, and I got my breakfast burrito, and I got this, and I got that. Business wouldn't survive. Mm-hmm. And so this is something that unions have to operate in. We have to survive in this space. And it's obviously purposely propped up by the super wealthy. So let me give a little bit more history from the 40s, 50s, and 60s. And so the ugly truth of Right to Work is obviously first based in race and racist principles and bigotry and fighting desegregation. Because obviously in the 1950s and 60s, there was a big movement to stop segregation in the South and stop. There was a desegregation movement, right? Is to make sure that people didn't have a separate bathroom or separate meetings or a separate water faucet. Clearly we look back now and go, this really happened, and it's a bit puzzling. Yes, this did happen, and that happened based on exploitation of workers. And obviously, there's other there's other issues that drive racism, but from our perspective, we see the biggest one is usually about exploiting workers. And why did I choose this subject today was really because I touched on it based on Michigan repealing this Right to Work law. And it's been the first time that something like that's happened in a very long time. And it was shocking that Michigan actually went right to work a decade ago, because it's a very working class area. But what happened to Michigan was these corporations removed a bunch of jobs out of the Rust Belt into where? The South. The South said, oh yeah, bring these new jobs. They weren't new jobs. They were displaced jobs that were from the Rust Belt, moved into the South. They got new tax breaks, incentives, and all that stuff. And then it was right to work. And so, of course, someone in Alabama is going to say, our business model doesn't allow for this. So now I think everybody, you remember the term, let's say Frank and James, you remember the term Jim Crow laws, correct?
Yes, Jim Crow.
So obviously there was a bunch of Jim Crow laws that were in place in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. And an organization by the name of the John Birch Society. Some people still remember the name. Please look it up. You would be shocked as to who was connected to the John Birch Society. The John Birch Society pushed back against desegregation, wanted to maintain segregation, because it was the super wealthy of the time. And one of the founders of the John Birch Society was Fred Koch of the Koch brothers. Fred Koch, right. So now you look at the Koch brothers now, and you see the stuff that they're in with an organization called ALEC, which is ALEC, the American Legislative Exchange Council. They're the new John Birch Society. They're the new proponent for a right to work. They're the new proponent to fan the flames of this kind of stuff, and to get workers fighting amongst each other. Hey, if we're fighting over crumbs, then guess what? They're raking in tremendous amount of money. So let me just give you some quick statistics, and then we'll get into some dialogue that comes with it. Here's what's crazy in the last 50 years is union density. That's the percentage of workers that are unionized. In the 50s and 60s, it was 36%. Today, it's down to about 10%. So that's clearly a huge decline. But you also can see that far less people have retirement plans. Back then, almost everybody had a retirement plan back then. I just want to remind you, the Worker Power Hour with Randy Corrigan, KCAA 106.5 FM, 1050 AM. Got to do these for FCC stuff. So anyway, you also had a time, back when union density was high, where almost everybody had health care. Almost everybody had a retiree medical component of some sort. And there were things that were just kind of a staple with work. And if you went somewhere, it wasn't this contingent workforce like you see now. It was a workforce that the employer was proud to say, hey, you come to work for me, you can work your entire career here, and you can retire at a decent age, and you can buy a home and support your family. Clearly, those things have shifted. So now what I want to explain is because of the prominence of right to work and how union density has fallen, the statistics that have come with it. So obviously we see less of those things I just said. Then you also, when you see right to work states, because it's a state legislative item, not a federal one yet. At some point, they have tried to make it federal, and the last time they tried to do that was 2017, and again in 2018. And so if you look at the states that are right to work versus the states that are not right to work, you would think, oh, well, the states that are right to work should be better. Well, you know what? Wages are 22% lower in right to work states. It's a fact. Those that have medical benefits is 21% lower in a right to work state. Here's the most shocking number that just blows me away. 49% higher death rate on the job in right to work states, which means that their jobs are less safe. Again, why? Because less union density, not as many people contributing to the system, and as a result, the laws aren't strong enough to protect workers. Poverty is much higher in right to work states. And so this right to work, blah, 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 blah. So the first state to pass public employee rights to bargain was Wisconsin. Ironically, it was the first state to repeal it in 2011. Wow. So in 2011, they repeal it. The Right to Work, ALEC, this whole organization gets out there and they turn their machine on and they say, you know what, we're only going to do public employees. They're taking a bunch of money out of the system and all the BS villainization that goes on of it. And we're not going to touch firefighters, and we're not going to touch police, and we're not going to touch this group and that group. What they did is they divided everybody. And then as soon as that passed, if you look 10 years later, you look at how much less all those positions pay, they then went after all the other positions and then pulled away bargaining for all of those other ones. And what did they do with the money? They actually give the money in tax breaks to companies like Foxconn that got billions of dollars in infrastructure breaks and tax breaks but didn't produce any of the jobs they said they were going to produce. So why would they do this? Obviously, this is a money grab. Corporate America, whether it's industrialists or corporations or these super crazy rich CEOs now that like Dr. Evil-ish type situations where they control the world, why would they do it? So the same amount of money is kind of circulating through the economy. Yeah, exactly, Dr. Evil. That same amount of money is circulating through the economy, but corporate profits are higher than they've ever been over the last 40 years. Why? Because they're no longer paying for these retirement plans. They're no longer paying for health care like they did by percentage or at the same level in which they did before. They're not providing retiree medical. They're not providing wages at the level in which we're comparable to the same time frame. And so where did the money go? In their pockets. And that is why there's so much more money at the top of it. And they've essentially wiped out retirement plans. Oh, everybody's got a 401k. That's not a retirement plan. That's a savings plan. Yeah, 401ks are good. But the originators of the 401k code are actually very disappointed that in all these years, it was never intended to be a replacement of retirement vehicle. It was supposed to be a supplement. Wow. It was supposed to be, and so they actually came out about 5 years ago, the original authors of the 401k code, and said we are extremely disappointed. It was actually, I think, with General Electric that they first propped it up and used it as a basis to start. And it was never intended to replace the retirement system. And so the last thing I'll touch on before we just have kind of open dialogue and you guys ask some questions is the retiree medical portion, like villainizing everybody, asking too much to have retire medical. Okay, if I work for a company and I work in a warehouse and I do this really tough job, or I'm a driver, or I'm in a production facility, or whatever it is, any job, and I go to work for them when I'm 20, and I work 40 years, literally 40 years of my life, and I have beat up my body. I have physically, beat down this situation over and over again. You're telling me I'm going to make it to 70? No, I'm not physically going to make it to 70. So why wouldn't there be what we call retiree medical? Why wouldn't there be something that creates a gap between that time and I get to Medicare if the job I performed the last 40 plus years has actually beat me down physically to a level I can't continue to do it anymore? Some will say, oh, you need to move on and do something else. All those jobs are necessary. You don't just say, oh, let's just move on. No, what happened to either making it more safe and or creating vehicles where people can retire at a relatively decent age and enjoy a certain time of their life without being physically debilitated. So with that, clearly right to work and the oxymoron that it creates, that's just a brief kind of history of the disgusting nature of it. And matter of fact, Frank, I was looking at you when I brought it up, and you were just kind of like, oh, my God, I can't believe that's where it originated from. In other words, like, you don't have to participate in an organization that has black people in it, so don't pay your dues. That is literally where this started. Incredibly disgusting. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, we still have some deep-rooted issues that go way back in our country, and this appears to be one of them that started, from a bad past, and it's still not a good thing. But I think the idea that of being so, I'm gathering here that the whole right to work thing is that you don't have to pay to be in a union,
Correct. You can freeload.
So it's kind of like you don't want to spend a $20 bill to make way more than $20 and be safer and over the course of your career. It seems interesting to me that it sounds good to say, oh, you shouldn't have to pay to be in a union if you don't want to be in a union or whatever, but if you actually do research on what unions do for you, it's well worth it.
Yeah, it's pennies on the dollar.
Exactly.
It's a small percentage, especially when you think of if you look at non-union versus union, and the percentages are between 18 to 25% difference in wages. Just on that alone, healthcare is an even wider sort of band, because the difference between union healthcare and workers that are represented by a union in their healthcare is immensely different than those that are non-union. And so, I don't have to pay 50 or 70 or 80 bucks a month. Like, the exchange to be losing 22%. That is exactly what corporate America wants you to do, right? They want you to fall into that trap and say, yeah, sure, I should get this. I shouldn't have to pay for this. And then guess who has control now? James, what do you think?
Yeah, well, I think you said it best. As you were describing everything, you said it a couple times. It legitimately is the ugly truth about right to work. And there's a very ugly history, and I think, unfortunately...
Did you know that it was based in that?
No, I know about right to work, but I didn't know the foundation on which it was built on, and it's horrible. I mean, who would want?
Crazy.
Yeah, it's.
I almost want to tell everybody that tries to not pay their dues or that supports this right to work stuff, like, do you know how racist that this literally originated from a complete racist agenda?
It could be a racist business model, perhaps, that's still existing.
Well, I guess why the guy in Alabama thought that it was an attack on their business model. Huh?
Wow, that's something else. So, what conversations should people like me be having with other, workers? I'm fortunate. I'm in the Teamsters. I'm proud of my union. What about other people who are seeing a different side of this? What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know. The question I like to ask is on the sides. Which side are you on?
There you go.
Are you on the side of Vance Muse, or are you on the side of Martin Luther King? It's that simple.
That's a good way to put it.
That's how our video puts it, right? I actually, at the very end of the video, if you go on our website and take a look at it, and you should do that. Anybody's listening, go on Teamsters 1932. You can go to About page and go to videos and pull it up, or you can just type in Teamsters 1932 slash RTW, and there it is on the screen there, and actually look at that. At the very end, I asked the question. I actually have a picture of Martin Luther King on the video, and basically say, which side are you on? Right there, go back up. If you scroll up, right there, that is it. The truth of right to work. That right there, it's that simple. It is sides. Am I on the side of what Martin Luther King fought for, or am I on the side of what somebody like Vance Muse or William Ruggles tried to create? And then others want to exploit that. Like, oh, okay, I'm not a racist, but now I just don't want to pay dues because I don't like your political stance. Okay, well, do you like the political stance of your bank? Do you like the political stance of your mortgage company? Do you like the political stance of the person that you're renting from?
You like your phone contract.
Right.
Your
do you like the political stance of your phone contract, right? Like, you still, you still have to have these services. You still have to have these things that function. It's like me saying, oh, I don't like my city, and so I'm not going to pay my water bill anymore. I don't want to pay my water bill, but you still got to give me the water. Like, or I don't like my city. I don't want to pay my taxes anymore. I don't like the president, so I don't want to pay my taxes anymore. Like, the economy would literally fall apart. And so unions, this is what we've been dealing with literally, for 70 years. And we've got like 2.5 minutes. So,
it's
shocking.
It's shocking, but knowing the history, I just can't believe it still exists to this day. It's just unbelievable. And
how did it just get destroyed, right? Just shut down and everybody realized what it really is.
Yes.
Corporate America.
Wow.
Corporate America. Just carrying the message. Frank, do you want to add anything to this?
I think people, if you need an example of how people with a lot of money can be powerful, think about how many people voted against their best interests because of something someone with a lot of money told them.
Wow.
Oh, you don't deserve to make more. It's like, no one's saying a CEO can't be rich, but we people deserve to make a fair amount for what they do. And
you know what's crazy is every elected official, and I know we got to wrap the show up, but every elected official I interview and I talk to, and I actually ask them, do you know what right to work even means? At first they think they do, and when I just give them a little bit of history, I go, do you know how right to work started? They all go, I actually don't. I've never actually anyone tried to BS me on it. And when I explain it to them, they're shocked. They actually, I'm like, go look it up, man. Don't just depend on my version of this, because we vetted this. Before I produced something, I made sure that we 100% vetted the accuracy of this. And I'm shocked that elected officials, they just don't know and they don't understand what that term is. I'm talking U.S. senators. I'm talking Congress people. I'm talking all that. And so I know I got to wrap up. I got probably a minute left, and I can't really take any more questions right now. But I hope that this show gets shared in a way that people understand how, in so many ways, we've been misled. So many ways workers have been misled over and over again. And, what we're doing is we're building worker power in the Inland Empire. You can see our billboards. You can see all the things that we're doing in the area. And we're just trying to educate workers on what they can do. This is Randy Corrigan with the Worker Power Hour, KCAA 106.5 FM, 1050 AM. Longtime organizer, first-time radio show host. Signing off.